I paid my sister and her fiancé's rent for years, only to learn they mocked me behind my back. I cut them off and karma hit. Yes, you heard that correctly. Rent. It wasn't as if they provided me with a place to stay. It was a direct opposite. I was sending them $1,200 each month to help pay for their home and bills. It all began roughly 3 years ago. Emma and her fiancé, Jared, were going through a difficult time financially. They were drowning in debt, and I could tell they were too proud to seek help. I had recently gotten tenure. At a local college, the salary wasn't that impressive when compared to my monthly expense and mortgage. But I wasn't married and didn't have any children, so I thought I could afford it. What's the point of having siblings? I offered to help them for a bit until they could get back on their feet. They were grateful, or so I thought. However, the interim arrangement dragged on. A month turned into 6 months, which turned into 12 months, and then it hit me. 3 years of giving money every month without fail. I restructured my entire life around it. No large purchases, and no trips, simply living frugally to keep things going. Still, I did not complain. I knew I was doing the correct thing. Family comes first always. Then followed the wedding announcement. They were finally getting married after all these years, and I thought, okay, this is a watershed moment. I secretly wished they'd tell me they didn't need my assistance anymore. Instead, Emma called me one day and asked if I could help with her wedding expenses. I'll never forget that call. I hesitated for a long time before telling her, no, Emma, I already send you $1,200 a month. I can't do more than that, I told her. She became silent. I'm not sure what she wanted to say, but I needed to draw the line someplace. Fast forward 2 months to my father's birthday. We held a large family gathering at Grandma's place. It was a usual chaos, tons of food, kids running around, and folks debating whose barbecue sauce was superior. Emma and Jared appeared carefree. We were all in excellent spirits, enjoying beverages and discussing old family stories. Everything appeared normal. Toward the conclusion of the event, my grandmother approached and caressed my arm. Brian, can we talk outside for a minute? She said gently. I didn't think much about it. Grandma is known for her little heart-to-heart conversations. It could be life advice or simply a word of encouragement. I initially believed she was going to encourage me to settle down. She was always wondering when I was going to find a good girl and start a family. We strolled onto the porch, which was quieter. She looked around to ensure no one was listening in. Then she said something that struck me like a punch to the belly. They made fun of you. She replied quietly, who I inquired, wondering, Emma and Jared, they laughed behind your back. I felt my stomach drop. What do you mean? I inquired. She paused before speaking. They think you're stuck in life, that you'll never have a family of your own, that you are wasting your time trying to help them. They joke about how much you sacrifice while you live alone and never going to get married. I felt a tightness in my chest. I could not believe it. I had given so much for them, and this is how they perceived me. Some kind of loser who should be pitied and mocked. I stood there in silence, taking her words. Grandma stared at me with sad, knowing eyes. Brian, you're a good man, she added softly, but you don't have to let them treat you like this. They are taking advantage of your kindness. I nodded, still stunted. What should I do with this information? Confront them in front of everybody and ruin the evening? No, I was not going to let them have the satisfaction of seeing me rattled. Instead, I went back inside, smiled, and pretended everything was fine. I even clinked glasses with Jared when we celebrated Dad's birthday. However, within me, everything had altered. I realized I couldn't continue living like this. Did they think I was a joke? Fine, let's see how hilarious things get if the money stops rolling in. I wasn't going to lose my cool. I would play it smart and keep it elegant. But they were soon to discover that I was no pushover. The fallout begins the morning following Dad's birthday party. I awoke early, still thinking about what Grandma had said. Part of me wanted to call Emma immediately afterward and confront her, but I opted not to. I needed time to contemplate. Instead, I went about my usual business, coffee, lesson preparations, and grading papers. Just business as usual. About a week later, Emma called me, hey, Brian, just checking in. She remarked cheerfully as if nothing were wrong. Hey, I said, maintaining a neutral tone. She began droning on about wedding plans, flowers, guest lists, and an issue with the caterer. I let her speak for a while. Then she casually mentioned money. Oh, and Jared was wondering if you could send this month's rent a little early. We have a few things coming up. I had to fight myself not to chuckle. Yeah, about that. I'm actually going through some financial stuff myself. I commented, I won't be able to send the money this month. There was a pause. Wait, you mean just this month? Right, you'll still help us after that. I don't know, Emma. I've been helping for 3 years. I might need to focus on my own situation for a while. She remained silent for a moment, then I noticed her voice thicken. Brian, are you serious? We are counting on this money. Yet, well, I was counting on my family not laughing behind my back. Another prolonged stillness. I didn't elaborate, and she never asked what I meant. Instead, she uttered a stiff, okay, and abruptly terminated the phone. That marked the beginning of the fallout. 2 weeks had gone by since I heard from Emma, but I knew something was up. Then one night my mom called me unexpectedly. Brian, I just talked to Emma, she said, and I could see she wasn't happy. She says you stopped helping her with her bills. What's going on? I exhaled. Mom, I've been sending them $1,200 a month for 3 years. It's not like I owe them anything. Well, yeah, but they said you've been acting distant. My mom replied. Then I said, did she also mention that they've been making fun of me behind my back? I asked her, what are you talking about? I told her what Grandma said. For a time, there was only astonished stillness on the other end. Finally, she spoke again, this time in a gentler voice. Brian, I had no idea. Am so sorry. You've done more for them than anyone could have expected. If they're treating you like this, I understand why you're upset. It was a relief to hear her say that, but I knew things were going to get ugly. The confrontation is sure enough. A few days later, Jared called me unexpectedly. Hey, Brian. He said, his tone forced but courteous. Emma's really upset. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Is that right? I asked, maintaining my composure. Yeah, man, I don't know where you're getting these ideas, but we have never said anything bad about you. You have been great to us. Oh, so Grandma just made that up? I inquired. Honestly, Jared stammered for a second. Look, if she said something, it was probably twisted. You know how old people can exaggerate. I didn't believe it for a second. You know what, Jared? Let's not pretend I'm done with the money. You guys are on your own. I hope the wedding goes well. I hung up before he could argue grandmother's revelation. The rail kicker arrived a few days later when I received a call from Grandma herself. Brian, honey, can you come over? I have something to show you, she said. I went to her residence. She walked me into her study and gave me an old family photo album. I flipped through the pages and came across a collection of childhood images of me, Emma, and Jared. Then I noticed something unexpected. A letter slipped between the pages. It was from more than 30 years ago, before I was even born. Grandma, what is this? I questioned, pulling it out. Read it, she replied softly. The letter came from my late grandfather, and it detailed a hidden trust fund, which he had established for his grandchildren, to be distributed equally, unless one is found to be abusing the family bond. Emma and Jared don't know about this. Grandma continued quietly, but I think you should. I sat there startled. It wasn't simply about money anymore. This was about setting boundaries, and perhaps karma was about to catch up with them. The fallout escalates. Grandma showed me the letter, and I had a lot to think about. My late grandfather had established a trust fund for all of us, but she did not disclose how much money was in it. She made it obvious that no one else in the family knew, not Emma, Jared, or my parents. Why are you telling me this now? I questioned her. Grandmother gave me a knowing glance, because I want to understand something. You are not the failure they make you out to be. You have worked hard, sacrificed for others, and shown more integrity than most people ever would, and this fund was meant to reward people like you. I nodded, carefully absorbing her words. I didn't want to rush into anything based on this new information, but it was comforting to know that I had some concealed leverage over Emma and Jared. The drama became more intense during the following week. Emma and Jared were panicking. I believe limiting their monthly allowance affected them harder than I expected. Jared's work hours had been reduced, and Emma was having difficulty paying some of the wedding providers. I assumed they would figure it out, but instead, they began attempting to guilt other family members into giving them money. It backfired spectacularly. My mother stated to one of her sisters that I had been financially supporting Emma and Jared for several years. Word spread immediately. Everyone in the family found out pretty quickly. My Aunt Laura, who never holds back, supposedly ripped into Emma during a family function I wasn't even attending. You let Brian pay your bills for 3 years, and now you're playing the victim. Are you serious? She allegedly said. Emma loses it. Emma called me later enraged. What the hell, Brian? Did you tell everyone about the money? No. I said quietly. I only told one person, and you brought this on yourself. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? She asked. Emma, I think you have bigger problems than embarrassment. I told her. Maybe you should look into the mirror and ask yourself why you believe it was acceptable to treat me as a joke. She did not have a response. I assumed that was the end of it, but Jared decided to push things. He must have been desperate because he showed up unexpectedly at my school one afternoon. He waited for me in the parking lot. Brian, we need to talk. He requested while trying to seem calm. As I was stepping out of my car. About what? I asked, crossing my arms. Look, man, Emma has been crying nonstop. People are turning against us. We just want to make things right. He explained. Oh, you want to make something right, after 3 years of taking my money while laughing behind my back. I shake my head. No, thank you, Jared. I am done being your safety net. His cheeks turned red, and then he said, you act as if we intended to hurt you. It wasn't like this. So how was it, Jared? I interrupted. Explain to me how ridiculing someone who helps you is intended to hurt them. He did not have a positive response. Instead, he muttered something about how everything was a misunderstanding and left. My dad steps in and called me later that night. He rarely participates in drama, so I knew this was serious. Brian, he explained, I had a lengthy conversation with Emma and Jared, and they are struggling right now, but they regret how they treated you. That's good. I replied, frankly, but I'm not interested in fixing things right now. They need to solve their own difficulties by themselves now. Dad exhaled. Look, I am not saying you are incorrect. You've been more than generous, but maybe it's time to sit down and have a serious conversation with them and clear the air. I thought for a moment. I'll think about it. I finally said, but deep down I was not in a forgiving mood. They had been using me for several years. They would have to prove they deserved another opportunity, and I wasn't going to make things easy for them. Our family meeting was about a week following my father's call. I received a handwritten invitation from Emma, which was odd. She asked me to meet her and Jared at a coffee shop near their house for a family meeting. I contemplated going, but curiosity got the better of me. I assumed I would listen to them despite my low expectations. When I arrived, the cafe was almost completely vacant. Emma and Jared were already looking a little overly prepared. Emma wore a phony smile, and Jared fidgeted with his phone. Emma remarked, Hey, thanks for coming. As I sat down, sure, what is this about? I asked, keeping it brief. Emma took a big breath. Look, we would simply like to apologize. We shouldn't have talked about you that way. It was wrong, and we sincerely apologize. Jared nodded and joined in. He said, we were agitated and told some horrible jokes. We didn't mean anything serious. I sat back and observed them. It all felt too polished and scripted. Okay. I said, but let me ask you a question. If Grandma hadn't told me, would you have ever apologized? They froze for a second. Emma looked at Jared, who swiftly spoke out. Of course we would have eventually. I chuckled. Right, sure. They shifted uncomfortably. That's when Emma revealed the true reason for the meeting. Brian, we need a favor. She explained cautiously. There it was. I almost laughed aloud. Let me guess, you need money? Not exactly. Emma responded nervously. We need you to co-sign a loan for us. I stared at her like she had a second head. Are you serious? We've struck a hard patch, and we just need some help refinancing the house. If you co-sign, we'll obtain a better rate, and we'll handle the rest. You would not have to pay anything. Jared explained. I couldn't believe what I heard. You've got to be kidding me. I responded. You think I'm going to put my name on a loan for you after all this? Are you listening to yourself right now? Emma's face reddened. We are not trying to take advantage of you. We are working to make things right. I shook my head in astonishment. You don't solve your problems by begging for more handouts. You fix things by accepting responsibility for your own lives. Jared threw his hand down on the table. You are being unreasonable, Brian. We are family, he said. I laughed bitterly and replied, exactly, and family members do not treat each other like dirt. You are on your own. I got up, tossed a couple bucks on the table for my coffee, and went out without saying anything. A few days later, the unexpected news broke. Grandma called me sounding shaken. Brian, you should come over right away. It's important, she remarked. When I got to her house, she handed me an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter from the bank regarding the trust fund. Emma and Jared had apparently caught wind of it and were attempting to demand a larger share, claiming that I had withheld family assets. They went to a lawyer. Grandma said, her voice shaking with fury, they say you had the trust fund from them, even though you didn't know about it until recently. I was stunned. You got to be kidding me. They are desperate, Brian. They are grasping for straws, she remarked, but this is low, even for them. Then it struck me. They weren't only struggling. They were sinking, and now they're willing to throw me under the bus to save themselves. I am not going to let them get away with this. I stated forcefully. Grandma smiled a little. Good, it's about time someone teaches them a lesson. I wasn't done being surprised when I received a call from a lawyer the next morning. I readied myself for a heated argument, but the lawyer sounded unexpectedly. Sorry, Mr. Daniels, he replied. I wanted to inform you that my clients have chosen to abandon their complaint. They would like to handle the situation privately. They have withdrawn their claim. There was an awkward moment of silence. Before asked why, then he continued, let's just say, some fresh information has surfaced about their financial predicament. I believe they knew they were in no position to pursue it legally. I couldn't help wonder what had happened. Later that day, I heard from Aunt Laura that apparently Jared was sacked when someone anonymously claimed that he'd been embezzling minor quantities of the company's money. To make matters worse, the bank flatly refused their loan application, citing credit worries. Karma had struck them severely, and I had not even moved a finger. I was still processing everything when Emma texted me a few days later. It reads, we should talk, please. I ignored her. The next day, she showed up at my residence unexpectedly. She was pacing outside my building when I returned home from work. I sighed and stepped out of the car. What do you want, Emma? I asked, already fatigued. She appeared frustrated. Brian, I didn't realize Jared was going to go this far with a lawyer. I swear I did not want this to happen. He just panicked. I scoffed. You were both perfectly happy, attempting to rip me off of that trust fund. She stared down at her feet. And I'm sorry, okay, we've just been under so much stress. The wedding expenses, the house, and everything is coming apart. I folded my arms. You know who's at fault, right? I shot back. Perhaps you wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't relied on me for so long. She winced and then unexpectedly replied, you are correct, but I have no one else to turn to. I looked at her in bewilderment. You don't understand, do you? I am done. I gave you years of my life and thousands of dollars, and you just laughed behind my back. Now you came here expecting me to save you again. Brian, you're my brother, she whispered quietly. We are supposed to look out for each other. Yeah. Where was that support when you and Jared made fun of me? She did not have a response. I shook my head. Emma, I'm finished. This will be our last conversation. Regarding money, trust funds, or anything else. I don't want anything more to do with you or Jared. Her eyes widened. You can't simply cut me off like that. We are family. I looked at her and said, watch me. With that, I walked inside, leaving her standing there. It hurt more than I wanted to admit, but it was enough. The next day, Grandma called. She had heard everything. Nothing in our family keeps a secret for long. Brian, I want you to know something, she stated. I have decided I'm not going to talk to Emma or Jared anymore. At least not for a long time. I was startled. Grandma, you don't have to do that for me. I do, she stated firmly. You've been nothing but wonderful to them, yet they attempted to betray you. If they don't respect you, they won't respect me. They crossed the line, and I am not going to pretend differently. Hearing that from her meant more than I could express. A few weeks later, I received another surprise. I ran into Aunt Laura at the grocery store, and she took me aside. Hello, I heard about everything that happened. I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, she said. Proud of me? I asked, perplexed. Yes. You have finally stood up for yourself. Emma had a knack of manipulating people, but you didn't let her take advantage of you. I laughed. It wasn't easy, but I couldn't live like that anymore. Then she told me I did the right thing. She then told me to check in with Grandma, that she is making some modifications to the trust fund. That grabbed my attention, and I said, changes? Auntie Laura laughed and said, let's just say Emma and Jared might not be included in the future plans. When I saw Grandma a few days later, she verified it. She said she has spoken to the lawyers, and she has determined that if Emma and Jared can't demonstrate responsibility and respect, they won't earn a single share of the trust. She said, I'm giving them the opportunity to change, but if they don't, the trust will be divided between you and your cousins instead. I was speechless for a moment. I then replied, you don't need to do that, Grandma. I do not want any of the money. I know, she responded smiling, and that's why you deserve it. I cut off all communications with Emma and Jared. No texts or calls. I barred their numbers and quit dealing with family drama. I had no idea how heavy the weight of their lack of responsibility was until it was lifted. The actual kicker was that Jared had moved out of the house after losing his job and their relationship was on the rocks. So Emma had to return to live with Mom. I wasn't happy about it, but I couldn't do anything about it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.